All right, so let's tune it up. Here we go. UFC 305, Fight 3, lightweight division, best division in the UFC. Anything can happen. You got Mateusz Gamrot versus Dan Hooker, two guys that are ranked in this division, and it'll be that way the rest of the way. So Mateusz Gamrot, number 5, Dan Hooker, number 11. This fight's on, or this fight is underway. Excuse me. And Dan Hooker came out fast. Kind of why I lost my train of thought for a second. Landing a couple jabs to get started. And both of these guys kind of similar on the feet, right? I give the edge to Dan Hooker because of the reach. But Mateusz has the X factor in the ground game. First 30 seconds gone. Nice leg kick by Hooker, who you can tell already he's going to be moving a lot. He's going to keep that jab hand, lead hand out, and try to keep Mateusz off of him. And almost every fighter in this division can go to the ground. I mean, if need be. Some are better than others. Like Mateusz is really good on the ground. Big left and right from Gamrot. But Dan Hooker's been around a while. He can defend takedowns. But right now, Mateusz isn't even thinking about it, doesn't look like. He's content standing up and striking. 6-5 early on, Hooker. Nice leg kick by both guys. So far, Gamrot having a hard time getting in there. And here he goes, attacks a leg. Gets Hooker right to the ground. Now he's going to try to get the head on the hip. Hooker's got one hand down trying to get up. It's not going to happen. And Mateusz is on top. And this is where Mateusz shines. Crowd won't like it because he won't necessarily get a submission. But he's very capable of keeping this here for the next 3 minutes. No doubt about it. Now he's digging hooks under the knee. He's getting those legs taken care of. Seen that a lot from Charles Oliveira. Now Hooker stands up and gives up. Mateusz tries to get underneath. He can. He knees him and backs off. And now they're back to the top or to the center as the crowd likes that. So Dan Hooker held serve on the first one. Oh, Mateusz caught him. Now Mateusz is trying to get underneath. Oh, Dan Hooker, look out. Okay. And for a moment, Dan Hooker was in trouble. Gamrot's pounding away from the top. Dan Hooker's covering up. Look at this. He's not fighting back at all. Wow, look at this. This is not what I expected. Not the ground and pound. I expected stand up and strike or submission attempts. But Gamrot clearly wants to finish in this one as he pounds with 2 rights. And Gamrot's taken 7 different opponents down 4 times. That's incredible. Just incredible. Hooker gets back to his feet. And clearly Mateusz is leading in this fight already. 32-15 in significant strikes. He's really pulled away. He's taken the fight to the ground a few times. 2 takedowns. 131 of control. And now Dan Hooker's pressing. You got to be careful with Hooker. Look at this. Big right and left by Hooker. And Mateusz tries to go in for the takedown. He can't get it. He lands a right. Okay. And Mateusz backing off a little bit. These guys are swinging now. Boy, the crowd is on its feet. You got to love this, man. I'm telling you, Dan Hooker's not an easy out. In this lightweight division, anything can happen. As we're seeing. My goodness, man. And Mateusz can only move around right now and try to get takedowns because he's just trying to get the end of this round right now. That's how critical that punch was about 30 seconds ago. Final 20 here, and Mateusz is just going to try to hold on. And now some big elbows by Hooker. Gamrot goes to stand up. He's going to try to take the back. He can't. And final 10, and the crowd's on its feet. So good first round already. I had a feeling about this one. Dan Hooker can bring him into deep waters, which he's trying to do right now. Anything can happen. And both guys were tested right there. So it ended up being 33-20. Gamrot, who's going to get that round. He also had 2 takedowns. But Hooker finished the round strong. And a little bit of nervous eyes in the corner of Gamrot. You see his coach's eyes real big here, trying to give him clear instructions because they know you can't make mistakes with Dan Hooker, man. You're getting, this is a veteran. And to get here, Gamrot beat Jalen Turner. That wasn't an easy fight either. Split decision. So, Dan Hooker knows this is a top 5 situation in the best division in the UFC. I mean, this could change everything for him to go from 11 to 5. Yeah, man, he had Gamrot in trouble. Unbelievable. He had him in trouble in that final minute. And Dan Hooker smiling. And when you look at their faces, you can tell Mateusz is leading the fight, obviously, but Dan Hooker, it's almost like he doesn't start fighting until he gets hit. Second round underway. And Hooker now defending takedowns pretty well. And that may continue throughout this fight, which could really make it interesting. Gamrot 3 for 6 right now. He goes in, he gets this one. Oh my goodness. Dan Hooker on his back, trying to grab around the back of Mateusz. He's trying to move to side control now. And watch his triangle here. Watch his triangle. Mateusz is trying to lock it in, but Dan Hooker's good at defending this stuff. Again, he's been around for a while. This is the fight I expected right here. Gamrot to control the ground. May not get the submission, but he's going to constantly be going for submissions. Gamrot really dominating here in side control. Dan Hooker trying to roll out of it. He can't. And a nice elbow by Mateusz. And he had success on the ground earlier when he utilized the ground and pound. And he should be going for that again, although he's looking for the triangle here. I don't think he has it locked in, though. Hooker too slippery. And I get it. If you go for the ground and pound, you could lose your position. Right now, Gamrot's, controlling the position on top, building control time. It's up to 3 minutes and 50 seconds on 3 takedowns. We're only 2 rounds, halfway through the fight. And Dan Hooker crawls his way back to the fence. So he's going to try to utilize the fence to work his way up. Gamrot's not going to make it easy on him. Now Hooker to one knee. Protecting from the left knee of Gamrot, he does. And now can Dan Hooker stay on his feet? He does. And he gets out of it, and the crowd's going to love this. So Dan Hooker's answering the questions as far as dealing with the grappling and ground game, relentless takedowns, and attempts from Gamrot, who's 3 of 6 right now. But Dan Hooker hanging in. And from what we've seen from the judges tonight, it's anyone's guess who's going to win this fight. I mean, this is the first night ever we, wrapped up the fight with Rosenstrike in the last fight. I mean, he had an easy unanimous decision victory. It wasn't even close. And one of the judges went 3-0 to Avasa. I mean, it was crazy. And another takedown attempt. And look at this. Oh, Hooker almost had the guillotine. That would be crazy. And it's clear now, Gamrot no longer wants a strike. So he's going to be going for takedowns the rest of the way. And Hooker's going to battle back in significant strikes. That's what's already happening. So now 41-30. Now landing some good elbows now is Dan Hooker. And Mateusz looking to try to get another takedown. He's got the head on the hip, but Dan Hooker's going to stand up. And this is what you get from Gamrot. This is why he's such a tough guy to take on. He's just relentless. You know? It looks like the guy is going to get out of it, and he just continues to go in. And Dan Hooker landed some good elbows there. And I mean, even though Gamrot had the position and control up against the fence, it was Dan Hooker landing the better strikes. So I don't, how do you judge that? That's what I'm saying. It's going to be interesting. Now Dan Hooker pouring it on. Gamrot goes right back to the head on the hip and covers up as Hooker lands some elbows. So crowd liking this one. Very tough round to score, but definitely Hooker came back in that one. 42-35 now in significant strikes. 4 takedowns by Gamrot. Over 4 minutes of control. I just don't know how much that's going to matter. And if you're in Dan Hooker's corner now, you gotta tell him, like, defend the takedown first, but you gotta counter too. When he ducks that head, that's when you gotta go for the uppercut. But at the same time, you cannot totally miss on a punch and get taken down wide open. Gamrot's corner, you can go either way. You could say, hey, continue going for the takedowns. Just get 6 or 7 minutes of control. He should win the fight that way. But that's not guaranteed. And that's why it seems like this third round to me is starting to lean towards Dan Hooker, who's got a little confidence now. He's talking to the crowd. The crowd's on its feet. And you're going to see that throughout the night, right? The rest of the way is you're going to have hometown fighters other than the final fight, right? Battle for Africa, but which is odd that it's in Australia. But you're going to see the home crowd get on the side of their fighters. And right now they want Dan Hooker to win. There's no question about it. Dan Hooker starts around quick, a jab, followed by a right. Now a kick to the body is caught by Gamrot, and that's not what Dan Hooker wanted. And Mateusz goes right back in for the takedown. Look at this guillotine by Hooker, who loses it. Tried to spin, which could have ended the fight, but he lost it. And Gamrot remains on top. And you hear the fans booing, but it just, just takes the wind from your sails, man. Hooker right back to his feet. And now 5 takedowns. But he hasn't done much with it, except the one time when he had to utilize, he landed a good 15 or 20 strikes and had Hooker in trouble. Other than that, the takedowns haven't done much. And all of a sudden it's 46-45. Dan Hooker's battling back. If you go straight off of strikes and just eliminate the ground game, Hooker's going to win this fight. It just depends on how much that counts for. Dan Hooker really opened it up now. Left and a right. Mateusz misses with a right, and Mateusz is getting tired, making those takedowns even harder. Boy, both guys trading right now. But Dan Hooker continuing to go forward. I had a feeling this was going to be a battle. Would love to see Gamrot get the finish, but that's not like Dan Hooker a lot of times. 250 left in the fight. Kind of even this round right now. It could go either way. Nice left and right by Hooker. Ooh, and a nice right by Gamrot. 2:30 left. Yep, and we're getting closer and closer to Duplessis and Adesanya. Yes, sir. But we'll always take a good lightweight fight. Always. Gamrot's starting to pick up the pace now. He's up by 7 significant strikes, looking to get another takedown, which could be huge. Man, and great defense by Hooker to get out of it. 2 minutes left. Crowd likes it. Every time he gets out from a takedown, they're going crazy. And you got to give credit to Dan Hooker, is he's been able to get out of these different positions. And he's been able to stuff 8 takedowns. Complete win for Hooker, but he's got to finish strong to have a shot. Now in the last fight, Rosenstrike led like 98-23 in significant strikes, and a judge had it 3-0 for Tuivasa. So anyone's guess as far as how they're going to rule this fight. Very close round, 20-18, Gamrot in significant strikes. Basically even. Yeah, Mateusz grabs a leg of Hooker. Hooker goes in again for the guillotine. Oh my goodness. Oh, Gamrot gets out of it. And I'll tell you what, as far as endurance, Gamrot's got a lot of work to do. Because he's fading now. 40 seconds left. Hooker picking up the pace. And Gamrot slows him down once again by getting into the body. And the crowd can't stand it. They're booing. They don't like it. But this is textbook Mateusz Gamrot. That's why this guy's 24-2. Now Dan Hooker going to sit down on Mateusz, pounding away with the elbow. He'll get up. He's trying to get out of it. And Mateusz throws them all. 5 seconds left. And the crowd wants to see a flurry here. Here comes Hooker with a big left. I don't know, man. This could go either way. This could go either way. I'm telling you, man. I mean, Mateusz, to me, won the fight. Pretty fair and square. Pretty solid. But it's not safe. Total strikes, 83-81 Hooker. Significant strikes, 66-60 Gamrot. But head strikes is where it was at, 62-38. And a lot of that cushion came in the first round. And then Hooker started looking a lot better. Really, outstruck Gamrot in the second and third round to come back. But the takedown game from Mateusz was relentless. 5 takedowns on 15 attempts. So Dan Hooker stopped, 66, 67% of them. Gamrot still had 5-10 of control to 120 for Hooker. Just very close. The reason it's close, too, is even though Gamrot had 5 takedowns, he really didn't do much with it. Other than the one flurry for like 30 seconds on the ground and pound. Other than that, I mean, it's almost like the judges could look at it like, hey, he's getting tired. He's trying to get these takedowns. I just don't know. And really, it's from the last fight. I really don't know. Both guys circling around the octagon. They're getting anxious. Dan Hooker's smiling. I think he knows he fought well. Like, he fought well here. And you never know. Maybe Dan Hooker will get a surprise decision, which will put him at number 5, 6, or 7, probably 6 or 7 in the lightweight division, which would be a huge feat for him. And because of his name, he gets a bigger fight next. Here we go. Both of them been here before. Here we go, Bruce. Don't do it, Bruce. It's going to be split. 29-28 Gamrot. And already his face drops. 29-28 Hooker. Oh my God. 29-28. Oh my God. Dan Hooker gets the win. Are you serious? These judges, dog. These judges. Oh. Dan Hooker's back in the lightweight division, man. And this is going to be a major setback for Gamrot. And everybody's on notice now. You can't depend on these judges tonight. Gamrot falls for just a third time to 24-3. Dan Hooker moves to 24-12 here. Lightweight division. Oh my goodness. UFC 305.